Hello and welcome everybody to a very special edition of Midweek Matters. Now, I know a lot of our viewers were expecting episode 2 of the Roundtable. Well, things move quickly in the world of rugby league. We were here with Michael Chammas and news has broken around the consequence for any defectors to any rebel competition that isn't sanctioned. The NRL have, the ban in place for anybody even thinking of talking to this competition. 10 years, Chammy, huge story.
Massive story. The NRL's dead serious about making sure that the players aren't looking at leaving the competition. They've made it almost impossible to return. They'd met with clubs last week and they explored their legal options. And then there was a commission meeting on Wednesday morning and they finalised this policy that they've now put in place that any player who negotiates, signs or enters into a letter of intent, playing contract or any other form of agreement, whether verbal or written, with a football competition not recognised by the ARLC as a national sporting federation, will be banned from participating in the NRL for a period of 10 years. Now that goes for players, that goes for agents, and the discretion to review or lift ban is at the discretion of the ARLC and will be determined on a case-by-case basis. But basically it's saying, you want to leave, you take your money, you're not coming back. It is a huge line in the sand from the NRL to those players. And I dare say there'll be a number of them who are now closing the door on heading over and trying their hand at rugby union in that Rugby 360 competition.
Well, Mr. Chairman Volandis, Mr. Abdo, CEO, were incredibly strong when speaking with media. They discredited the competition, I think, to paraphrase, Volandis said it was put together on a back of a cornflakes box. It would go broke within a matter of days or weeks as opposed to months or years. It had no legs. But the NRL have joined forces almost to an extent with the Tier 1 nations minus Argentina and Wales that have effectively said any players joining this rebel competition will not be eligible for international selection. So deterrence, sort of what that says to me is this has got some legs. We were talking earlier about Roger Tuivasa, a guy like Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, who was probably the first alarm bell to go off over in New Zealand. Cameron George mentioned this. It's now since gathered some momentum. Firstly, Chammy, I'll ask you, do you think this is going to work?
Well, it's received major stumbling blocks. Like the fact that the major federations have come out.
I meant, is this ban going to work?
Oh, not right. I think it will for some players, not for Roger Tuivasa-Sheck because he's at the end of his career, and at the end of the day, he'll go to play in this. If it comes off, he'll play. He'll earn good money, money he won't earn in the NRL, and he probably doesn't have any intention of coming back to the NRL. He's. I mean this respectfully, but he's over the hill, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. He's not prime Roger, who was one of the best players in the competition, if not the best at one point in time.
Yeah, I think it was muted. That the contracts would be for 3 years. So by the time that deal was ended, Roger's likely not coming back.
No,
anyway.
He's not. And he's talking about he's going to earn close to 1.1 million over there. Like that will double, if not more than double, what he can earn in the NRL. So good luck to him.
Yeah.
I actually don't have an issue with Roger going over to do that. But what it does do to the Zach Lomaxes of the world, what it does do to the Ryan Pappenhausens and the Jai Greys and the Payne Haas's is, well, if you want to take the risk and you go over there on big money and it falls over, it doesn't happen, or it ends within a year or two, you're not coming back. There's no safety net of the NRL if this doesn't work out for me. And you say that they've joined forces with the major rugby union federations. Well, they haven't joined forces.
Yeah, sorry.
They've gone way over the top of what they were going to do. The ban imposed, the sanctions that they were going to impose from Australian rugby and New Zealand rugby and all the other nations who were part of this was, if you were playing Rugby 360, you would be ineligible to play test football, to test rugby. Well, they've just come out and said, bang, 10 years, see you later. So it's okay on one hand for Volandis to say this is something out of a cornflakes box. They're not treating it that way.
No.
They're treated it seriously. They've gone to lawyers, they've spoken to clubs, and they've come out with a 10-year ban. Now, that's They've got there's a condition in there that the ARLC retains the sole and absolute discretion to review or lift the ban, but
fundamentally, it's a lifetime ban.
Yeah, basically you can apply to come back, but you're not guaranteed to get back within 10 years.
Will this be grandfathered? So some of the players you mentioned before that have been rumoured to have already been in discussions or even signed these heads of agreement, if that has already been done and the ink is dry, and now the NRL come out with this statement, if Zach Lomax or Ryan Papenhuyzen or Jai Gray go to the NRL and say, look, I'd already signed. Do you think that...
It's a good question. It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that, Jimmy, to be honest with you. I wouldn't imagine so. You can't go back and punish someone with a rule that didn't exist.
But then would those players be in breach of contract anyway? Because it's before November 1 when they would be able to sign. So Zach Lomax would be in breach of his current NRL deal.
Well, the November 1 rule applies to only NRL clubs.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop him from doing that. Like he can speak to other codes. He still needs a release. It's not like he Sonny Bill and walked out. He was going to, my understanding was, ask for Parramatta for a release. So everyone's entitled to do that. Everyone's entitled to ask for a release. Doesn't mean you're guaranteed to do it. My understanding was Parramatta were willing to entertain a release if they were compensated financially. So I just don't think it's going to happen now, unless Zach Lomax harbours an ambition to go play another sport for the rest of his career, which I don't know is the case. Maybe he does. Maybe he goes and plays R360, plays Japanese rugby, and eventually stops playing R360 and plays for the Wallabies. I don't know. But if he's counting on the fallback or the safety net of coming back to the NRL, well, that's just been taken from him.
Look, I view this with some, like the R360 competition as a whole. Like it's got my thinking hat on. Like why Rebel Leagues happen. So we are a byproduct of a Rebel League, the NRL, the Rugby League. We, the Northern Union clubs, broke away from the Rugby Football Union for pay, fundamentally. And that quickly we developed our own rules and they've advanced, player drops off. It's funny, I was speaking with Matty Johns and he looked at this as a bit of this is a state of a rugby union issue. Because that product appears to have gone stale. Too many rules. He was of the view, this will basically end up looking like NRL. It's got a bit of an F1 circuit feel to it, what's been described to me about all these locations, and it's, that's basic. It's going to be an event as opposed to a sporting club competition. And for me personally, it's a compliment to the NRL of just how good we're going. Because I think if I was a Rebel competition, I'd want the best of the best. They've not gone for any Super League players. They've gone to the NRL and said that they can provide us a form of entertainment. But why other examples in recent years of like changing of the guard with sport have usually been around individual sports. So you look at darts, you look at snooker, the reinvention of them. Boxing has changed a lot. Mixed martial arts has changed a lot. But team sports in particular, like Rebel Leagues happen to sort of try and shake things up, or there's a power grab or a money grab. You look at the
Super League, as in
the Super League over here, but they came for the clubs and some players, but it was mainly about you bring the clubs over to start a Rebel League. I look at the European Super League, they went for the clubs. Like there was nothing stopping them inventing new teams and coming up with, Merseyside Red, or into blue, these, FC, Real, Real Madrid, not Real Madrid. You could invent these teams, but it didn't get off the ground. The fan power stopped that. There's no guarantees that that's going away. But with this rugby competition, I just don't know how long it would have. Like, if it was to get off the ground, like, where's the attraction for the fan base if it's too eventy? There's no hardcore fans. There's no team to support.
That's true. I don't disagree. I don't think it would have lasted more than 3 years, but wouldn't have blamed the player for trying to earn the much money as they can for 3 years. Like we're talking Payne Haas's agent. They approached Payne Haas about potentially defecting, and Payne Haas's agent said, well, if you're not talking in excess of $3 million, you're wasting your time. That's what it's going to take for him to walk away from what he's got. Now, that's a lot more money than he's earning, but it's also the incentive of a potential tax-free earning by changing your country of residence. But
that means so with that, you'd have to move and reside somewhere for a period of over 6 months. So all the glitz and glamour of you get to travel so much. If you reside somewhere for 6 months, that's a lot of time away from family in a place that you don't really know.
Depends on the person. Like for Payne Haas, I couldn't see that. I couldn't see Payne Haas doing it with his. I think he's got 8 siblings.
Yeah,
he's got 2 young kids. Like both of his parents are locked up. Like
he's not going to move them all to Monaco, for example,
or Dubai,
for a tax-free earning, which is what will be required.
Yeah,
which they may pay for. But I think one thing as well that probably hasn't been spoken about is the revenue increase in our sport that is which is about to happen. So yes, that gap is quite big at the moment, but I feel with the next TV deal, our stars are going to be the ones that benefit the most. It's not going to be, if the salary cap increases by 50%, everybody doesn't get a 50% increase.
Yeah.
The overwhelming majority of that increase goes to the star players, and the gap gets wider.
Yeah.
So look, it's a big gap at the moment, and we I heard one of the PR experts speak about Reece Walsh and how he could earn him $40 million off the field in 10-year period. And he said maybe now I'd recalculate that.
Yeah.
So I think that the money side of our game is on the up. We're not looking, with rugby union, there's a number of clubs gone. I think club rugby is arguably broken to an extent, especially over in Europe and even over here. Definitely in Australia, you could argue with New Zealand, South Africa as well. Club rugby union, there needs to be a fix, and I think this is a byproduct of that.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that I guess Australian rugby do well is probably travel bags, Jimmy. Like that's we saw Mark Nwanganitawaze rocking up to the Kangaroos with his Wallabies luggage. I don't think that's going to go down well with the commission, but we talk about the threat to the NRL. I just think that the game is so big here. The agents, they are leveraging this situation to their advantage. My understanding is the people at R360 don't even know who these players are. It's not like they're chasing them because they know that these guys. Like they met with Ryan Papenhuyzen and they didn't know who he was. Never heard of him. Never said. Thought he looked like a guy from a movie. What's that bloke with? I can't remember who that bloke is. Joe Dirt. But it's
do we even know who these backers are? Because we
don't know who the private equity.
Well, we don't know who the private equity. I've read, conflicting reports that it's a Saudi-backed competition with I think it's PR. Yeah. It's not them. Then it's European hedge funds. Then it's American investors, and we don't know. And if they don't know who the players are, even with all due respect, them going after Jai Gray, that is someone selling them snake oil.
Yeah, well, that's they're all from one agent, though, Jimmy. I know. That's under the Clinton Schifofsky, who's got rugby contacts, who saw this coming before. And
you know what, though, Chammy? If you're starting this Rebel breakaway competition, and you think Jai Gray, you're a complete muppet. And unfortunately, you're going to sell these. And this is what is they're susceptible to this because look, Jai Gray been great for South Sydney, but he's not exactly a star of the game.
Yeah, well, that's why they're talking to other people that they trust in Australia, other agents, and asking them for their opinions on certain players and whether or not they'd be throwing the kitchen sink, and that would be an error of judgment. Now, I think that they've got connections to people here. Yes, they do. They know the agents, but I just think this ends it now, Jimmy. I really think this ends it for players in the prime of their career, like your Zach Lomaxes and Payne Haases, from going over. What it won't stop, though, we've mentioned Roger. Let's say they came after a Tedesco. It's appealing. It's appealing to someone like that. Or they came after someone, let's try to think, someone who's still got a lot of football, a few years in him and is a big name. I've gone blank. You going to help me here, or you're not going to help me with someone? Who else is there in that category? We got Tedesco.
Big name at the back end.
Yeah. Munster,
Cam
maybe.
Munster.
He may be a little bit too young for that. But what in 2 years' time, Munster may look at it. So it's not going to stop the guys at the end of their careers who don't care that they're not coming back. But what it will do is stop the players in their prime or the young guys from going. And that's a fair protection.
The thing is, though, would the game welcome them back in any capacity? So
Not according to the release they put out today.
So, if you want to have your 2 or 3 years globe trotting on this circuit, for example, because it's not, I don't look at it as a competition. It's a circuit. They're different. Like that is a different point of view, a different aspect of how you play sport. You think about the tribalism that is involved, the home, the away. Like we go to Vegas, granted, and all that, and we've changed a lot as a sport. But this is a circuit. You fancy going over on this circuit for 2 or 3 years. Good luck to you. But then you want to come back and you base yourself here in Sydney, Brisbane, Townsville, Melbourne, Auckland. Do you think it would be as much as like the game turns its back on you? Like no TV, no radio, like no media work, no assistant coach's role, no avenue to come back into the game whatsoever.
I think so. But what happens when Peter V'landys is no longer in charge, or Andrew Abdo leaves, and let's just say hypothetically Kalen Ponga left? Are we going to say we're going to block Kalen Ponga from coming back into the game? Like there will be an asterisk where you get to apply, and there will be. I just think that the NRL is trying to deter them.
Yeah.
If Payne Haas left and decided in 3 years he wanted to come back to the NRL, are we really shutting the door on him? Honestly.
Probably not.
But I don't think he goes now, though, Jimmy.
But yeah, I think it's a big risk.
They don't take the risk.
Yeah.
And that's what they rely on, that fear to be left without the safety net.
Well, the only way to alleviate those fears is you'd have to pay all these players up front.
Yeah.
I think, so if you're paying Haas, and even like we're talking about talking with them here, they're very specific in their language. Like they talk about verbal deals, but I think it would come to the point where if I was a player and I was seriously considering this, I'd want my 3 years up front in a bank account, and that's when we go.
Well, that was a discussion that was being had, whether there were some upfront payments to try and.
You'd have to now because it's too big
you
a
won't
risk.
get the whole thing. Who's going to give you the whole thing?
Well,
you might get 100,000 up front.
Matt, well, you're not going to do it then.
Well, yeah.
you all the because of the move by our sporting governing body, and even you throw in the fact that these players are under contract. Like there's a like a Zach Lomax, a Payne Haas, they would have to break contract to start this Rebel competition in season 2026 anyway, which is another issue that we've got to factor in. I reckon if I'm talking to this Rebel group and I'm considering it, I'd say I want all my money up front, tax-free now, or I'm not. Look at what my governing body has done. So if I'm coming to you, these are the new rules of engagement. I need all my dough in my bank account now, and then I sign.
But the thing what made it even more difficult for the NRL when it became a lot more of a risk was when the ARU, the New Zealand Rugby Union, the English Rugby Union, when they all came out and said you won't be able to play international football. That meant all these guys who have aspirations of playing in the World Cup weren't going to sign.
Yeah.
So that became an even bigger threat for the NRL because suddenly they needed players to make up the numbers to get the triggers that they need to get the competition started. So it went from a threat to becoming an even bigger threat by that move from the ARU. So the NRL just or the move from the other governing bodies. So the NRL just said, okay, well, we can't.
Yeah, we can't.
We can't risk it.
Yeah.
We're going to have to draw a line in the sand and say, you go, you're done.
I really like this move.
It had to be done.
From the NRL. They had to act, take it seriously, and maybe this is the final nail in the coffin for it. But I do think good things can come from this. I think any threat can be used as a positive for our sport. You know, look at maybe the investors that were going to put money into this Rebel competition, that because it's a circuit style, I think it's more appealing to that TikTok generation, that short form, the short highlights. Rather than watch the whole game, they'd want to see the clips and all the razzmatazz around it. Your Teddy Swims at halftime, your pre-game show, your Snoop Dogg, all that. Let's maybe look at those investors, and instead of trying to take from us, why don't you come and look and, hey, this is what we've got.
Yeah.
Or we've already got your R360. You want a breakaway competition? It's here in the NRL. Like that, I think, further to my point earlier around club rugby union is broken. Well, it's not broken over here in the Australian Rugby Union, the NRL. Like, get those backers here, and let's get our game on the global stage. Yeah, like we've seen avenues go into America. We're record numbers. We're smashing numbers here in Australia. Look at this product and go, let's deliver it to the planet. Other sports are doing that. NFL going to Europe. We're currently seeing even European soccer, which is like the gold of sports investment. Obviously, the Premier League, even they've had discussions around this, but European soccer, I think Barcelona will play Villarreal in Miami as a league game, not a preseason game, a league game. And I believe AC Milan are going to play Como in Perth. Like, they're starting to globalize look at their reach, because they want to catch up to the giants of the Premier League. So do our sport see this? Do Volandis and Abdo, they've got this statement now, we're putting the blockade up. Do we, maybe now the next move from them is to go, hey guys, let's come and meet with us. We've got what you're looking for anyway.
Well, yeah, that's a good point, because I think the NRL won't want someone to come over and take over the running of the game. But, like, you know, I've spoken before about my vision and hope that the 20th team could be in Hawaii. What if they got US private equity? Maybe you can somehow convince some of those guys to invest and buy a franchise. Then that is your gateway to North America, and then or whatever it may be. So I think the game, the way that it's heading and the trajectory that it's on, the possibilities are there for it to really start to leverage corporate dollars outside of just Australia and New Zealand. So,
and I think that comes. It certainly speaks to the highlight generation, the 30-second clip.
Yeah,
like Reece Walsh would be. Like, he's our man for that. Ryan Pappenhausen, he's our man. Big Nelson, although he's no longer with the Melbourne Storm, he's a highlight reel kind of guy, which appeals to the new investor. I mean, I think, you know, we get so focused on viewing figures in terms of how many people watch the grand final and the overall audience. Well, there's way more audience in terms of numbers go into the social clips.
Yeah.
And whether or not, like, I don't like that as a sports consumer. I think it goes against the beauty of sport, but I don't dictate trends. Yeah. And that's where trends are. Like, so 4.6 million or whatever watched it. How many watched Reece Walsh? How many millions of people, tens of millions of people watched his try?
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's where we go.
That's a good point.
And I personally think that that's what this R360 competition was looking for, because club rugby is broken. And I think there's something there for the NRL to go to them and say, we've got what you're looking for.
Well, the one, and this is probably a segue into our next discussion, is around Pappenhausen, because Melbourne are at a crossroad as a club. What do? They got young Jonah Pezzett, who wants to start his career as a regular starter. They don't want to lose him. They're talking potentially about playing him at 6 alongside Hughes at 7, which means Munster moves to fullback. My understanding, there is a willingness from Melbourne to release Ryan Pappenhausen. And that could even be in 2026. Now, for someone like him...
For the 26th season?
Yeah.
Wow. So as in at the start of next year?
Like, he may have played his last game for the Melbourne Storm. Now, that's a decision that he's going to have to make, especially with these conversations with Rugby 360. He's probably in between where you say, okay, he's finishing up or he's in the prime. He's probably in between that. Yeah? Fair to say?
definitely.
He's at that period where you start to say, is he going to start to fall off the cliff a little bit? So he's got a decision to make. If he's got a payday coming and the Melbourne Storm aren't so sure that he's their fullback, he's got a massive decision to make, because I don't think they want to lose what they consider a generational talent in Jonah Pezzett.
Yeah. It's just whether or not he could play with Hughes. Is that? I know we look at the Bulldogs and go 2 6s in Galvin and Burton. Is that 2 7s in Pezzett and Hughes?
But I think no matter where he ends up, it's going to be the options that I'm hearing that he's looking at, Parramatta being one. He's going to be the 6 outside of Mitchell.
Yeah. Or would Mitchell be more of a 6?
Well, not in the short term.
Not in the short, yeah.
You know, he's looking at, I think the Cowboys have shown interest. We did. And at least he's smart enough to realise I'm going to get myself alongside a quality playmaker and learn my craft. And he's been willing to be patient, Jimmy. Like,
loan, or he wants a proper deal?
Well, this is the thing around Pappenhausen.
It's all the jigs, the domino
Because if
effect.
Pappenhausen decides he wants to stay, they got too much money in him to not play him. Do they release Pappenhausen to another club? But if Pappenhausen stays, it makes it difficult for him. So maybe he does a 1-year loan deal somewhere and heads back to Melbourne when because Pappenhausen, he can leave at the end. Well, they don't have to take up his option at the end of 26. So is the options for this year in 26? In 27, he's no longer at the club. That is the period of loan that my understanding that they're looking at. When Pappenhausen does leave, if they can't release him now, can they bring him back in 27?
With just staying on Melbourne Storm, obviously, since we've last had a show, Big Nelson released with no deal on the table, or no actual parent home. He's in the Kiwi test squad. But is this Melbourne's way of saying we're coming after Tino?
Don't know how they had the money to do so, to be honest.
Well,
what's Tino going to cost you?
But Nelson was on 850. Tino on in excess of $1 million.
You're going to have to give Tino 1 too.
Not if you're Melbourne Storm.
Okay. Well, if
Brisbane
Brisbane
Broncos paid Benny Hunt, what, 400, 500?
Yeah.
He was $1 million player at St. George Illawarra.
That was because he was at the end of his career. Tino is arguably not even at the prime of his career yet.
I agree, but would say, okay, Nelson on 850 with third parties for Tino, plus his origin payments, which Nelson doesn't get.
On the cap, it'd have to be a minimum.
But could you, I think with what maybe then you move Pappenhausen as well, like you're saying, you put Jonah in there, you reshuffle the deck a bit with the makeup of the spine. Pappenhausen is on more than Pezzett. You put that money together with what you've just released from Nelson, and you go, in you come Tino. As a way to go, this is what we need to win the premiership.
That money, they're going to have to pay Jonah a lot of money too.
But he's already on contract.
No, he's not, Jimmy.
Because
he decided to terminate his contract, so he's effectively a free agent. He hasn't got a club for next year. He decided not to take up the option to stay at the club.
So he's available now for
26. He's available. He decided to take the risk. He put himself out there. As of November 1, he will not have a contract with any other club.
Wow, I didn't know that was the circumstances. I just thought he was off for. So he is like technically unemployed as of November the 1st.
Doesn't know where he's going back to preseason.
Holy!
He took the risk and said, "I'm not taking up the option to stay at Melbourne." And he's in discussions at the moment with those clubs that I mentioned. So
even the loan, technically a loan deal is just a 1-year deal.
It's a 1-year deal. That's exactly right. I will sign.
There's no such thing as a loan. He's not on loan because he doesn't have a parent club.
That's right. He's gonna have to sign 2 contracts.
Yeah.
He'll sign with Melbourne if the Pappenhausen thing, if Pappenhausen stays, potentially he may sign a deal with Melbourne for 27, 28, 29. But he needs a home for 1 year.
Yeah.
Who's going to pay him for 1 year? Is it in Parramatta's best interest to have him for 1 year?
No.
That's the question.
That was a Harry Grant to Tigers because the Tigers were that desperate, but I don't think anyone's that desperate to get Jonah in for a year.
Well, it does. He's a good player. He's a great player. He'd be great for a year, but it causes you a problem a year later.
Yeah, but you're just kicking the can down the road.
Right. That's
Unless you've got someone in your system, maybe you could sell it that way, but I don't know.
It's difficult.
I don't know.
And then the other problem around the Melbourne situation at the moment is Who's going to be the coach, Jimmy? Because that story overnight, the story the other day around Craig Bellamy having Josh Hannah having a clause in his contract, which means that if they sign Craig Bellamy, he gets relegated to assistant coach.
That's insane.
It was a great story. Scott Bailey broke the story on AFP.
I mean, we've seen clauses come into people's deals. With, obviously, there's a couple in there at the Tigers that players have put in, but that clause it's got to be. I don't know if I've ever heard of anything like that in my life.
Well,
from a coach to have a clause if this one particular coach becomes available, for the Titans to put that in, that's not just guesswork, is it?
Well,
like they're not going. I'll tell you what. If Cam Serraldo comes available, or if all right, sorry, Ivan Cleary, who has won 4 premierships in a row, okay, well, I'll tell you what, we'll sign this deal. But you know what? If Ivan Cleary fancies a little stint in the Goldie, I'm going to put that clause in. Or you've not gone Bellamy, Cleary, Serraldo, Bennett.
Yeah. But so I got a phone call grand final eve. It was like 10 o'clock at night. I won't name names. But this person rang me and said, actually I got a text first, are you awake? And I thought, okay.
Oi, oi.
I am. And then I got the call.
I'm on my way.
And this person rang me and said, mate, Bellamy's done at the Titans. I said, what do you mean? He said, mate, he's done at the Titans for 27. I said, as what? He said, well, I'm assuming general manager, but he's going to the Titans in 27. So I'm like, okay, well, grand final eve here. I've got to do a grand final day column. So the next day I make the phone calls. And I end up writing a story at about 3 o'clock the day of the grand final saying that the Gold Coast Titans are in discussions with Craig Bellamy to lure him to the club in a non-coaching capacity for 2027. And in that story, I also wrote that he was approached beforehand in negotiations with the Titans to go over to replace him. In the end, they went with Hannay because I assumed it didn't get done. But it makes more sense now after the story from Scott Bailey the other night that there is a clause in Hannay's contract. Because after the conversation with Bellamy, they decided, well, we're almost there. He can't leave just yet. Let's sign Hannay and give us an out in case Bellamy wants to come the year after when he's off contract. It is bizarre. Like, to be honest with you, I don't know why Josh Hannay accepted that deal.
No, neither do I. He
could have taken another job without a clause.
Exactly.
Anywhere.
He's a good enough coach and he's got enough runs on the board to not do that. But I guess, I really don't know what to make of it. But what it says is it's going to be a really interesting, 1 to 2 months at Melbourne Storm, and then certainly an interesting year ahead with lots of pieces to be determined. I think Frank Panisi's got a big job in his hand to get these calls right. You think of Suafarlongo, it's whether or not the story around Cam Munster and him being that franchise player which just will not go away. Big 12 months at the Melbourne Storm. Yeah. Well. We've got some international games coming up. We've got a big preview coming out with Josh Hodgson. But it's interesting to hear Aaron Woods.
Your man.
Oh,
it was your man.
Well, he's just...
After you bagged him and said he wasn't worth coming to the Bulldogs, you were better than him. Now you're going to bag him again?
Look, he basically, he's been on a podcast, right? And he was on a different podcast. And he went into Gordy, right? So on the Sunday Sin Bin, we basically hammered the podcast, hammered Woodsy. And because he was okay giving it, he didn't like it. He was off us all because at grand final day we did the Sunday Sin Bin, and then he come in to do the NRLW grand final. He's like, no, got a mood on. Would barely speak to us. We're like, Woodsy, you fair game, mate. You've started this coming after the Gordy Kevy situation. So you just align yourself with Gordy because your team Sunday Sin Bin, or what? No, because I'm in agreement. Well, I went on a separate route. I don't like anybody saying something with "clip this up, baby." I was like, bleh, cause it makes it's just no. So you went at him for that, okay? That, and then, but basically, I disagreed with what he said, and then Buzz was hammering him as well. Massive mood on. Anyway, he's come out again and done this other podcast, and they played Sean Wayne, England coach's speech, and he's like, "Oh, I'll put you to sleep." Oh, so Woodsy, we know what he did with Queens and New South Wales. He's trying to. he's trying his best to be a shock jock, and it's just like, Woodsy, come on, mate. But I found it quite disrespectful, if I'm being truthful. Like, Sean Wayne, very proud man, very proud Englishman. Like, Woodsy can say what he wants about England's chances, and that's fine, and how great Australia are. He started hammering, but fundamentally, I think it's disrespectful to Sean Wayne. Like, and he basically he's gone and hammered AJ Brimson about like, not being picked for Queensland, Australia, and picked for England and whatever. It was like, you know what, Woodsy, like, maybe AJ should speak to you, because you'd be the expert at being an imposter syndrome. Like, how am I here? Like, why am I in this team? You know, like,
that's a bit harsh on Woodsy.
Well, mate, come on.
Played for New South Wales.
Exactly.
Played for Australia.
Exactly. People will be saying like, how's he in that team?
Oh, he's one of the modern day greats.
And I know people were saying, how is he in this team? So maybe AJ should call Woodsy and be like, what's it like when no one thinks you should belong? Because that's exactly what it is. Like, if he's going to hammer AJ, I'm gonna hammer you. Like, we used to have a saying in Liverpool, like, my nan could play for this team and they'd still win. You know, like the star-studded teams. Well, like, people like all those stars that New South Wales and Australia had didn't need me nan. They even let Aaron Woods play.
Oh, wow. The feud. The fuse.
They even let
has
Aaron
been
Woods
lit.
play. So if he wants to come after England and be this phony shock jock.
To be fair, though, you guys have no chance.
No. But it's not even about having a chance. He disrespected Sean Wayne, giving this like passionate speech to the English players around how it's been 55 years. And he's, they'll put you to sleep. Oh, they'll put you to sleep.
It's a bit of fun, Jimmy. He's done exactly what he intended to do.
Yeah,
Get under your skin.
No, but I found it disrespectful. So I'm playing ball.
Yeah.
In a nice, calm manner. So there you go. You've got what you want. So there you go.
He did. He played ball. You give him what he wanted.
Return serve.
So how are you gonna return serve if England win this series?
Oh, mate, I'd love it if England. No, but I'd be congratulations to England. That's what I'd be.
I don't know, Sean Wayne. How do you think he would have found Woodsy's comments? Would it be motivation to England, like Billy probably used it to motivate his team?
Can I be honest? I don't think Sean Wayne know who he is.
He would have coached against him, surely, at one point.
No, he would have missed him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon he maybe just thought he was I don't even know if he'd know he was an ex-player. He'd be like some shock jock.
Wow.
Or phony shock jock.
Mate, rugby league wars.
No, it's not. It's just...
It's Team Sunday sin bin.
Team Sunday.
You guys stick together, eh?
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to back Woodsy, mate. I'm going to have to stick
Does he pop up on the Saturday show?
Yeah, and I've done some stuff I've done some stuff with him before, Woodsy, and we played PlayStation together in Origin camp. That makes us brothers for life. So.
Oh, he was the fall guy for your little Brent Reed stitch up, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
That's a great story, by the way.
Good story. Wow.
All right. Well, we've met this podcast has gone on. It's been an incredible day. R360. For our fans, our listeners, we will be back with the roundtable Sunday, episode 2, series 3. Be a great one. Chammy, thank you so much for joining us. By the way, got to see a little bit behind the scenes in the life of a journalist. the calls, the R360, the typing up, mate. This was, for our listeners, I wish I could describe just the amount of panic on Michael Chammas' face, typing with one hand, texting with the other, voice calling the other, trying to do a podcast. It's been absolutely sensational viewing. So, Chammy, thank you so much for joining us here on the Bar, mate.
Appreciate it, Jimmy. I'll see you in England.